Hello and welcome to the latest instalment in the Supercharged lead gen series from Moneypenny. My name's Dan Marshall and I work at Moneypenny as Digital Marketing Manager. In this series, I'm going to be talking to some of the greatest minds in lead gen marketing to pick their brains on all the challenges and opportunities that we currently face as marketers. And of course, along the way, we'll be getting some of their top tips on how we can all improve our lead gen activity. Today, I'm joined by Dave Smithbury, who's the Head of Marketing at Ruler Analytics. Hi, Dave. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Pleased to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much, Dave, for your time today and joining us. Always good to hear from you guys at Ruler and everything you're working on. Obviously, we've got a couple of questions to go through today, specific to lead gen marketing, but also pick your brains on the whole attribution side of things that Ruler obviously specialises in. If you could just give us a quick overview before we get into that of yourself, what you do at Ruler and what Ruler does for anyone that doesn't know as well.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Dave, Head of Marketing, as Dan mentioned, at Ruler Analytics. We are a marketing attribution software who provide solutions to the B2B industry, essentially. Like anyone who's kind of driving leads into their website and may typically convert that lead into a sale offline. We help close the loop between the leads that are being generated by the marketing team and the revenue that's seen potentially kind of weeks, months and years later. We will loop that back from the CRM system, match it up to the leads and the kind of journey that lead took, and then loop that data back into your marketing reporting tools. So that might be Google Analytics, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, that type of thing, helping you see that ROI really and reproving the evidence of your campaign effectiveness.
Excellent. Yeah. Great piece of software, Ruler, in my opinion. Really, really helpful, particularly on our paid search activity. Lots of insight we get from that. So it's just really great. So as I said, I've got a couple of different questions. We'll jump straight in with a nice broad question to put you on the spot, Dave. But what do you think is currently the biggest challenge that marketers face when trying to drive leads?
Yeah, sure. So I think many marketing kind of thought leaders out there may feel that kind of attention spans are shifting now. So obviously you're seeing people being bombarded by so much kind of visual content all over the place, really, whether that's online or offline, anywhere really. So those attention spans are really starting to shift. But in reality, we feel that the consideration stage of the buyer's journey has elongated, if anything. At the same time, we see people will binge watch full seasons on Netflix and that type of thing. So it's not as if people's attention spans are really dropping too much. It's just that their whole kind of way they consume information has changed, really. I think consumers are great at doing their own research now and have kind of endless reams of information at the fingertips. At that kind of consideration stage, potential customers could be considering various different brands, not only yourselves as well. They're probably all offering similar products and services. If you look at kind of Google, for example, they say that even a relatively small purchase like a chocolate bar could take as many as 20 touch points to convert to a sale. So really your job as a marketer is to ensure that you're providing compelling enough proposition, hit your audience with the right content at the right time, and be aware that the variety of channels your audience is consuming. So it's simple for your potential customer to actually reach out and make that decision process much smoother for them. I think B2B industries in particular, prospects are used to communicating in various different ways as well once they want to convert with you. So that's whether via a form submission, call or live chat. So for the marketer, this becomes a real challenge and being really laser focused on where your audience is, what they really like to consume, what's working, and then being able to optimize around those metrics.
Excellent. Yeah, I find it really interesting. You mentioned Netflix in there, and in this series, the second time we've been speaking to someone about B2B lead gen, and someone's mentioned Netflix. It just goes to show, doesn't it, how I guess B2B is having to look to B2C stuff a lot more. What do you think then, Dave, is the kind of like the ways that marketers can overcome those challenges at the moment? Where do you think we should be focusing, or what do you think we should be doing differently?
So I think ensuring you have that full view of the customer journey really is essential now, really understanding what your customer looks like. I think marketers need to be able to not only just track the leads they're bringing in, but really understand what leads convert into customers, and then understand how much revenue they're bringing per customer as well. Once you can loop that back into the channels that you're using and the campaigns that you're running, that'll help then understand what's driving those sales and then optimize around that, really. I think the best tool a marketer can have is being able to optimize your campaigns and even your keywords based on revenue rather than the vanity metrics that might normally be associated with Google Analytics and various reporting tools. Obviously, they're very important. You've got kind of impressions, clicks, form fills are really key to understanding what's working, but pinning those campaigns and pieces of content to the buyer's journey and then being able to see the steps your customers are taking will really help you optimize the content and find new opportunities to maximize that kind of spend that you've got available for the marketing team. Then having data representative campaigns can completely change your view. It can allow you to drive down the cost per lead of the campaign or acquisition, and also really ensure your budget's working most effectively.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, I see how kind of obviously, Ruler is obviously focusing on that attribution and that closed loop. And I see a lot of you, what you're kind of saying there is essentially how everything's so interconnected now, isn't it? In that journey from first finding out about a service right through to buying it, and monthly subscriptions for businesses as well. It's all so connected, isn't it? So and obviously, yeah, we mentioned obviously Ruler. The attribution side of things is a big thing that you guys do, and that's where a lot of the value comes from. What do you think the current state of attribution is like in the marketing industry? I know people have spoken about it a lot over the last few years, haven't they? And I think it's grown in prominence. But where do you think it's at currently?
Yeah, I think it's still quite a relatively new field in marketing analytics, really. I suppose e-commerce businesses have been benefiting from quite some time. It's quite straightforward for businesses who run pure e-commerce to track that data and get our revenue back into Google Analytics and the likes of AdWords, mainly due to the shorter lead cycles you tend to see within e-commerce, and being able to kind of track that data point all the way through like a pure online conversion. When it comes to offline conversions, so it can be quite a lot trickier. So you're looking at the likes of B2B industries, but perhaps the legal industry or financial industry that might have multiple touch points that convert offline, as well as that kind of digital footprint that people have got. In a recent study, we were part of the finite B2B community, and they did a poll recently just on the state of the industry, really. And within one of those questions, it's only 8% of marketers felt they could accurately attribute the return on investment to their marketing campaigns. So kind of, that's over 90% of people there who are really struggling to get that revenue information back into the campaigns and really prove the effectiveness of the activities that they're actually performing. So when you've got multiple campaigns across a variety of channels, mixture of a number of different conversion touch points, trying to tie it all together into your sales and marketing tech stack, it's quite understandable, really, that marketers feel they're probably trying to untangle a Christmas lights, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, no, and that study number's crazy. Actually, only 8%. That's so low, isn't it? You think of how valuable some B2B products are as well, and how much investment people have to put in to acquire those leads. To not know the answers is quite concerning at times, isn't it? What do you think then, as marketers, we could be doing more of to sort of improve where it comes to attribution?
Yeah, sure. I think trying to achieve this manually is probably the dream, really, for people to try and be able to sort this attribution problem out themselves. But in reality, it becomes quite a logistical headache. We often speak to marketers who kind of feel they can do it themselves, but actually come unstuck with the data disconnect. They can struggle with the intricacies of matching leads across various channels that they're running, different campaigns that are running all across these various channels, trying to communicate with their customers. But then they'll see discrepancies against different models from, say, Facebook and Google Analytics, because each kind of platform's trying to prove their own worth as well. So you really struggle to get that kind of single source of truth across the different important platforms that you're using. So in our opinion, you're marketing quite blind if you're not basing your work on what you know is definitely driving customers into or through their customer journey. That can definitely apply to both B2B and B2C marketers, really. If we go back to the kind of consumers taking up to 20 touch points to buy a chocolate bar from Google, even e-commerce marketers are going to struggle to see how pay-per-click campaign, for example, is affecting sales. So it could be working to drive users through the customer journey as opposed to directly purchasing. so many different intricacies that are involved in that, really. Obviously, there are a number of experts in attribution. I'd like to say that Rule is one of them. Generally, they'll provide a consultative approach and help get to grips with the existing sales and marketing processes, the various tech stacks that a business might have. But they've also been through the pain point with other customers, and they'll be able to understand those experiences that people are having, of integrating various apps together, trying to align data across different platforms, to get that single customer view, really. So I think it really is important for people to reach out to experts in the attribution industry to try and help bridge that gap for them.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very valid point. I think, like you say, if you want to try and do it manually, it can be really, really tough to do. But I guess as someone on the other side of the attribution process to Ruler, if you were going to do that manually, it's going to eat up so much of your time as well. So I suppose, whether that's Ruler or another provider, I think that the platform itself is probably quite valuable in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's over there. You're not just there with the tech, really. It's there as a relationship, and businesses the whole tech stack can change so much, really. There's so many different systems in place. You'll probably find across every business, really, that different platforms are disconnected. You've got your marketing reporting tools you're using for GA or ads or Facebook ads, things like that, alongside perhaps a HubSpot suite. On the other side of it, sales are using the Salesforce CRM perhaps, or Microsoft Dynamics. And then you've got the operational side of it, that might be using the likes of Sage CRM or different EPOS tools. Trying to connect those together, having that one stakeholder within the business is really difficult. So it's really important to have that helpful ear, really, just to make sure that you're integrating all these things correctly. You're not taking up too much of anyone's time within various departments. And someone who's really been through the pain before to really help you out.
Yeah, no, it's always helpful, isn't it? That insight from the external mind often points you in a different direction that you've not thought of, don't they? So really, really useful at times. You mentioned single customer view in there as well. What does that look like to Ruler? What is the single customer view, and how would that benefit me as a marketer or a part of a marketing team?
Yeah, sure. So I think with the single customer view, you can get really into the detail of exactly what makes your most profitable customers tick. You can obviously you go in from a high level view of maybe a campaign or a particular keyword within a campaign working. If you can really drill into that individual who has been a profitable customer, you can really see what their journey has looked like. So then you can model on the back of that and then make sure you're really hitting them in the right points, the different areas of their buyer's journey. And making sure that you're covering all bases, really, nurturing that lead through, and making sure that the points that marketing touch in the funnel are really looked after and optimised effectively. I think that data is invaluable to a marketing team, as they've got that definitive proof of what's working, and then that allows them to make really data-driven decisions rather than guesswork from marketing reports using accurate data. Or partial reviews of your marketing impact that you might have had from purely looking at Google Ads or purely looking from Facebook ads, for example, or what your email marketing is telling you.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I think it resonates with me a lot, sort of as somebody who focuses on the digital side of marketing, but obviously very aware that within the leads and the customers that Moneypenny generates, they're touched by so many other forms of marketing, whether it's events or direct mailers, email campaigns, print, radio. There's so much that goes into it. And actually,
sorry to interrupt there, but I think everyone's fighting for that credit as well, aren't they? So you'll be wanting your digital marketing efforts to be given that real validation that it's working effectively, but it might be to the powers, I suppose, is more in the sales team that they've closed that lead. They can probably, if they were that way inclined, they could probably say that there's more impetus put into their meetings or their offline events that they may attend, and pop that into their CRM compared to all the hard work you've done to generate that lead in the first place and actually acquire that potential customer. So there's always that tug of war between sales and marketing, I guess, of who's getting the credit. But yeah. I think with real attribution, you can give yourself that pat on the back, really, that true credibility to show that a potentially expensive campaign that you may run has actually turned into real revenue for the business.
Yeah, you never want to admit that something else might have helped it. I guess that's the privilege of being the marketer, managing the attribution platform. If it's favouring something else, you can always hide it if you're that way inclined. But not that we're recommending anyone should do that. But something else that we touched on there that sort of made me think as well. You implementing an attribution systems, obviously it's going to be hard work. It's going to take a lot of time, but I guess nowadays there's so many different factors, like we just mentioned there, the various different ways that a lead could be generated, whether it's events, radio, digital media, or whatever that might be. But also you've got into the mix there, at our website level now, you've got forms, you've got live chat, you've got call CTAs, but then you've got your long sales cycles, you've got the whole COVID scenario as well. Like there's so much impacting on marketing right now. If you've not already got an attribution sort of set up in place, how would you recommend someone goes about that now? What do you think would be the sort of starting steps for them and how they get on that journey really?
Yeah, sure. I think, as mentioned before, as you say there, quite a headache to solve that kind of attribution problem manually. It can generally involve multiple stakeholders, potentially a highly technical knowledge of your website's conversion options, and all your systems in there. So as well, it could really involve a technical person that you may not have in that marketing team with limited resource really, and a real understanding of the different marketing systems you're using, be that Google Analytics, AdWords, Facebook Manager, and then also your CRM, which is probably again managed by your sales team. Probably quite ring fenced as well, and you probably don't want you to get too involved in their processes too much. The beauty of Ruler, and I'm sure other attribution tools, is the simplicity to set up really. I mentioned that kind of consultative approach that we take with our customers to really get to grips with the sales and marketing processes that are existing within their business. Once we've really understood the integrations and requirements of where you want data pulling in and out of and where you want it matching into, what tools you want to be using, all it takes is a simple bit of code we can add to the website, and that will automatically then track every forum, every call that comes in, and every live chat session as well. So we can really understand that true customer journey, regardless of the conversion method they came through. And then we can integrate with kind of an endless number of different marketing tools, CRMs, and different apps really that are used by a business to ensure you get the data where you need it really and where you need it most. Implementation side, it's kind of, again, we work alongside businesses too, so we can work at the business's own pace. Sometimes we have people who are kind of ready to go. Other times there's perhaps a various different kind of methods we need to get through and different stakeholders we need to work with, but we can help make sure that everyone's kind of feeling at ease across that really, find a solution with minimal requirement needed from the marketer or other internal teams. Typically we have customers set up in a couple of days, and from once that code's on your website, you can start seeing benefits from the tracking and enhanced visibility straight away. You start seeing that straight into kind of the likes of GA and the reporting tools that you use. You mentioned the long sales cycles there, so obviously there's quite a bit of movement at the moment around data and different sales cycles. Both Google and Facebook have been shortening their look-back windows recently, meaning marketers who experience lengthier sales cycles, such as in the legal industry, for example, can potentially struggle to actually see that conversion data and make sense of it. You're looking at people kind of a lead might come in for a legal case, but you won't actually see the revenue for that for potentially years after once the case has been settled. So Ruler allows that type of customer to define a look-back window that they want and to ensure they've never left in the dark about the data that they need, and that revenue then feeds into the tools that they need it in. Then finally, you mentioned about COVID. So obviously, it's affected everyone really, hasn't it, this year? There's no one who's kind of not been impacted by the pandemic. I think in terms of the marketing space, it's made marketers' jobs even harder really. It's the budgets have been scrutinised more than ever before. I think marketers who want to retain or expand budgets for the coming year will really need concrete evidence that their campaigns deserve more. Being able to point to clear revenue growth, that's clearly going to be the simplest way to the hearts of those who hold the purse strings, really. So that's when the revenue attribution can really come into its own. You can really definitively prove that your marketing campaigns have had a clear impact on revenue, and then you can either retain your budget or hopefully increase your budget and get some more kind of bang for your buck, really.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think some of the things that I took from that, it's obviously getting the process in place and starting that ball rolling of tracking things, connecting the various things as well. I think that's obviously really important. And like you said, it can be really time consuming with, I know in our own experiences, anything that's going to be involved in attribution is going to have to require the sales team's involvement, the CRM team's involvement, then the IT team and the front end dev team, they're all going to have to get involved at some point. So I think it's getting that ball rolling is a big step, isn't it? Even with everything that's going on.
It sometimes doesn't need to be as complicated as that as well. And some businesses will have potentially they've got Microsoft Dynamics, for example, throughout their business, and it's become quite integral to their whole operations. We have other customers who use a simple Google Sheet to track their sales. So it can kind of be from really sophisticated CRM solutions all the way down to kind of a simple sheet, really, and we're able to kind of attribute from all, really. So all walks of life are able to benefit from attribution. It's not kind of just in the world of enterprise business anymore. The marketers have got that real benefit now that data has become so democratized, and it's far easier to integrate with different tools. I suppose you just need an expert to help you along the way.
Yeah, no, the integrations are really valuable, aren't they? It's just like you say, you need somebody that knows what they're doing and has that experience to get that done. Cool. Some great answers there, Dave. I've got one final question for you, the fun one. What's your top tip for anyone to try and supercharge their lead gen activity next year?
Yeah, so we've recently just written a blog, actually, which covers 17 predictions for 2020. Oh, wow. So I think it's a fair few to choose from, really. I suppose on our side of it, it's really getting scripted data is going to be at the forefront of our minds. Data's just become so important to all businesses now, and I think the opportunity for marketers to get that offline data into their online tools is really powerful. Marketers are being increasingly held to account, really, over ROI, so being able to make those data-driven decisions is going to be crucial to the success or failure of any particular campaign. I suppose aligning revenue and sales data to your marketing campaigns is the only really true way of evidencing the effectiveness of your campaigns to help you drive down costs or optimize for whatever 2021 throws our way. I think aside from attribution as well, we're looking a little bit around semantic and zero-click search. As technology continues to adapt for its users, marketers are definitely going to have to try and keep up, really, with the changes that's going on within Google and SERP to ensure that they can still cut through the noise and make sure that their brand is seen.
Sounds great. Yeah, no, I love the data tip. Data is everything, isn't it? But again, actually, somebody else I've spoken to has said similar things about being adaptable at the moment and coming to grips with any changes in tech or anything else. So definitely, I think that'll be a big theme for next year, won't it? When we step into the unknown again, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, thanks so much, Dave. That's kind of all my questions sort of finished for today. So just finish off by saying thank you for joining us and bringing your insights to us. Hopefully, that's going to help anyone that watches this video with tips for next year and tips for implementing attribution plans as well, which obviously really, really valuable. So thanks so much for your time today and thanks for sharing.
Yeah, by all means, thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave.